Well, so today what we're going to do, and I am kind of in the outline here too, just I was going to walk you through a few things before we get into like the hashtag management, some of the behavioral alerts, search alerts. There's a lot of different triggers and different smart components that happen on the back end of kvCORE. So we kind of just wanted to walk you through what some of that looks like. And before that, I also wanted to kind of go back and review hashtags. We went through this last class. So if you missed it, feel free to watch the recording on that. But I did want to just go back through hashtags a little bit more just because this is really a key component to a lot of triggers that can take place in kvCORE when you say apply hashtags, which are basically just groups under kvCORE. And a lot of the times when you go to create the hashtag, most times you're going to be in your smart CRM. So I'll kind of walk you through the different components of that. So from here, we'll go into kvCORE. So again, you log into Mac Center and then you click on your tile that says Platform Max Tech powered by kvCORE, and then it will bring you into your kvCORE platform. And it always brings you to the dashboard. So from here, I'm going to take you into the or I should say smart CRM. So in here, over when you open this menu bar, you'll be able to see this a little bit better. So we'll go in and we're going to click. So for you, it kind of depends if you are on a team versus just as, individual agent. A lot of times as an individual agent, you can just click on your smart CRM and it'll automatically bring you into your contacts. But if you are with a team, there's also going to be a layer where it says all contacts. And so that's going to be where you're going to see your contacts and your team contacts under that section. You'll also notice I have some additional little filters here, and that was something we kind of covered last class, where you can go in and also create filters which can be tied to the hashtag, and then you could go in and apply, say an email or a text to that group, and I'll kind of walk you through just briefly what that looks like. So we're going to go into my contacts. And then from here, I just want to show you one quick view. And sometimes you might have to, I'm just moving my cursor over. You can, from this initial Smart CRM dashboard, briefly see what your hashtags are that are tied to your contacts. So that's what this column is. When you actually go into one of your contacts, what you can do from here too is you can add a hashtag, which is over here on the left. So what happens is, there's a couple layers to it. Maybe you already created a hashtag. If you did, you could type it and it should pull it in, and then you could go select it, and then it would automatically add that to your list of hashtags. And so really with hashtags, it's just helping you keep organized. It could be how you know your contact. It could be maybe, what their status is. Maybe they're under contract, but they need to sign some things still. You could go in and based on status, you could go in and say need to sign, or, maybe they're a hot lead. So you could also tie it to a neighborhood if you were farming a neighborhood. So there's a lot of layers to that. And the only thing you do need to keep in mind, I'll kind of get off of there, is when you create a hashtag, it has to be one word. And so I tend to, when I create hashtags, I like to have a capital for, the beginning of each word. And sometimes if you do want a separation, you would just do like an underscore, or you could do a minus, and that still keeps it, as one word, but it just looks visually a little bit like more of a separation there. So you can go in and add your hashtag right here, and you can create a new one right away, or you could pick and choose and add as you go. What you can also do is, this can be a trigger for smart campaigns, which we will go through that next class, which will be not next week, but the following week. And you can also use that as a trigger. We're going to show you today some other things that you can do that you can tie the hashtag for triggers as well. So from here, another thing you can do is you can create filters. And so my little windows closed there. So I just clicked on it and that'll open this up. So what happens here is you could also filter by a hashtag. So let's say I want to pull up my neighborhood in Windshire. I could click on that and then it'll show me over here who is tied to that hashtag. And then I could also save this filter and it would include it over here on the side. And I could also pin it at the top. So I'm just going to put Windshire. I want to pin this filter so it will show on my navigation menu. I'm going to hit save and then it's going to create that. So what can also happen too is, let's say I add some additional new contacts in here. I would go up here if I wanted to do it manually. And then what I can do is I can also add that hashtag, and then moving forward, any new contact that maybe you bulk import into here or add manually and tie that hashtag, it would put them in here as part of that filter. So that's just another layer of, how you can look at it. And from here, you could also say select everybody, and maybe you want to do an email from here. You could click on that. It would bring you in. You can do just a message, just how it has it as this template, or I'm sorry, or you could go in and create a template and pull that in, or you could also do the advanced editor and then you could send from here too. And again, I'm going really fast through this, but just know that when we do the next class, we're going to go into more details about smart campaigns, how you can set them up, how you can put the hashtag, apply it to a campaign, how you can create templates and all of that. Because obviously there's a lot of layers and there's a lot of things you can do. You could also do a text from here. You also, let's say you were in your contacts, I just hit clear to take me back out of that filter. And let's say maybe I did have a hashtag and I wanted to go in and select a few of my contacts and add them to that hashtag instead of doing it individually. So anyways, what you would do is you would just select who you want. You go into more actions and you could go in and add a hashtag, and then you could go pull, the hashtag that you want in here. It will show you what your options are. You could select it, or if you don't see it, you can just put it in here, hit enter or click here, and then it would automatically add. So just wanted to show you just a few of those layers because as you can see, hashtags can really be a big component of a lot of different things that you can do as particularly as triggers for smart campaigns, how you group your contacts. When we go in under marketing, I'm going to show you how you can set up additional search alerts, how you can manage your hashtags, behavioral alerts, and all of those different components. So from here, again, I just clicked on that menu bar. We're going to click on marketing, and we're actually going to go into the all marketing. So in here, really what it's trying to do is it's trying to help you nurture and stay top of mind with your contacts under kvCORE. And it has a variety of different options, kind of walking you through how you can, be top of mind, drive engagement, and potentially, which you hope, turn more contacts into closed business. So we're not going to cover core listing machine, core social, core present, design center, smart campaigns, or scheduled mass emails today, because we're going to cover that in classes coming up. But today we're going to cover basically the other pieces that are in here. And just another little side note to show you too, sometimes it will have over on the top left just another layer of like some quick links to take you additional places. So for instance, the behavioral automation that is showing up here, that is also down here, and Shannon will go through that here in just a little bit. Lead validation. Now, I didn't show this when we were under the Smart CRM, but when you go into your contact cards, or if you go in and add one of your contacts manually, there is a validation where what that means is it will try to go and validate the email that you put inside of that contact. And it's, not 100% accurate, but it does the best it can, where it will go in and just let you know, okay, based on what we can find, it does look like this is a valid email, valid contact information. And if it can pull any additional information, it will also then put that in your contact card as well. So this is just another way that you could go in and run that validation on a lead if you wanted to. And then this Get Mobile app, this again is just taking you to the two apps that you can download for kvCORE, which we've covered in past trainings. The mobile app, this one is tied to your kvCORE platform, so that's the mobile version. And then there's also an Open House app as well. And again, I would just make sure if you haven't downloaded these apps and you do want to, I would make sure that you text these to you instead of actually trying to find them in either the App Store or Google Play, just because it is a little bit harder to search. So I would text it to you. That way you can pull that in. And let's go back into hashtags first, because I want to show you how you can actually manage these. So then you can kind of tie and connect this a little bit better. So we're going to go in and we're going to do view hashtags. So in here, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to see all hashtags that you have either created and applied to at least one contact or a group. And there are also some system hashtags that can happen under here too. For example, let's say you're doing the paid property boost ads. What will happen is kvCORE will automatically create what's called a property boost hashtag, and then it will also create a address that'll be tied based on that property that you're currently doing the paid advertising for. You can also, sometimes there might be playbook hashtags in here. And I'll, just because I don't have any in here, I did want to show you kind of what that looks like. So if you're under your hashtag management and you see this playbook icon, that is basically tied to your listing that's promoting your, it's promoting your listing, and it's a playbook that kvCORE had created and generated for you. We went through that in one of our past trainings, so if you want more details, definitely check that out. And you'll also notice that with the playbook hashtags, you will not be able to edit those. They're pretty much locked. So just know that is a system one, and the reason why you can't edit is just because it's tied to the playbook, and kvCORE has locked those just to keep those intact for you. So up here at the top, you'll also see you have some additional things you can do with these hashtags. Another thing that will happen, which I think I've deleted all them, but what can happen is when you do a bulk import into your kvCORE platform, it will automatically create a hashtag that is, it'll say imported, and it will also have the date. So that will be a hashtag that kvCORE automatically populates anytime you do a bulk, upload into here, which is fine, but you may not want to keep that. So what you could do is you can select, one of these. Let's pretend that this is one that said imported with the date. You can click to mass delete, and then it would actually, if you had more than one of those imported, you could click to mass delete and then it would delete those. Or you can also see if you have a hashtag you want to delete, you can do it from here as well. You also, maybe at times, you have a couple or several hashtags that are duplicating or they're very similar. What you then could do is you could pick, whichever ones that you want to merge, and then you would just click merge. And then you could say, okay, I want to merge these two hashtags and I want it to merge to this hashtag instead. And then I would just click to select, hit save, and I'll say, are you sure you want to update? And because it can, if you do this, you just have to be careful. If you had these hashtags tied to, say, smart campaigns, filters, or anything, it won't update. So there is a couple layers to that. So you just have to be careful when you come in here. And if you try to merge, but you've been using these hashtags for search alerts or for smart campaigns, it may not make sense to merge them just because you've already had them applied. But let's say you had some hashtags and you haven't used them for anything, then it would make sense that you would come in here and say, yes, let's go ahead and merge these. I don't have anything, or I need to go and clean what I have done to update and adjust. So hopefully that makes sense. But just more than anything, it gives you the capability where you can merge hashtags if you notice that you have duplicates or you want to, adjust those because you have too many that are very similar. And again, you can also come over here and edit any of these or delete as well. You will also see over here on the right, you can create a new hashtag. So what happens with this is you can, let's say you're in here managing your hashtags and you just realize, oh, there is a hashtag I do want to add in here. You can come over here and add it. The only thing is you do need to apply it to at least one of your contacts in your smart CRM. So in order to create the hashtag here, you would just have to then go find one of your contacts, apply it to them, and then you could add the hashtag. And then you would also see it over here on the left. You also, just as I showed you when we went into the smart CRM, and I showed you how you could create that filter for that neighborhood Windshire, what I could do, because I saved that as a filter and I had also pinned it, I could also come in here and say, okay, I actually want to pull that saved filter in here. I'm creating this new hashtag, which is, let's say, my Windsor group. And now I want to enter that. And now that I've created this hashtag, it's also going to apply to my save filter that was for that Windshire group, which is in Windsor. And then I would just say add hashtag, and then it would bring it over here. And it does always bring a little message here and it will say, great, we just created that. Sometimes it can take a few minutes. Sometimes if you do not see it right away, you can always hit the refresh up at the top, and then sometimes it'll just resync and then you would be able to see it from, from over here where you requested to add it. So now I want to take you in and just show you what it looks like individually when you go in here. So I'm going to pull my Windshire just so we can see, because you can also do a search and then it'll pull the ones that you have that are tied to that. So I'm going to click on the name and it'll take me in. So when you come into the individual hashtag part to manage it, what it's going to do is it's going to show you all of your contacts that are in your smart CRM that are tied to this hashtag. It gives you a summary up here. What you can also do is, let's say you are in here and you're like, okay, I want to select all my contacts, which when you do that, you click on this box up here, and I want to email everybody that's tied to this hashtag. So then you can click on here. There's a few layers. You could add a MLS ID. So if you wanted to share a property, you could do that and pull the property ID in. You could do a very simple email, put the subject information, and then send this. Or you could also do the advanced editor. You could pull a template in that maybe you had created, and then it would populate once you select it, and then it would bring it in and you could edit. And it also has this other layer here where it's a smart assistant. So that's all, there's the whole AI that's built into kvCORE. So it's tied to Chat GPT. So maybe you want to use this assistant and have it help you create the email text that you would like to send out. So you can also from here, same thing, if you want to do a text, you could click select everybody. You could then select the text hashtag and go through. It has some prompts where you could just do the defaults that it sets in here, or again, it could generate using the Chat GPT feature under here, or you can make your own message. You can also pull your templates into here or do a video. Now, the video component, though, as a group, you would have to have the premium. So if you don't, then you wouldn't be able to use the video under here. And also keep in mind, and it also tells you, you have to make sure that when you're sending a text that your contact has already subscribed, and it will tell you up at the top if you have somebody, maybe who has unsubscribed or may not be able to be sent because they haven't yet. So that's just the other layer, and that's just for protocol and guidelines that are tied to sending text under here and just in general for the guidelines. There's also where, let's say you're in here and you selected everybody, or you could also just pick and choose who you want to add just by checking or unchecking. You could also add a task to remind you to do something with this group later. You can also remove certain contacts from this hashtag. So you would just select and then remove from hashtag, and it would take that contact or contacts out of there. And you can also go in and again, edit the hashtag if you want to rename it. That's what that is. So that is just give you a little bit of, how you can come in here and manage your hashtags. As I mentioned before, you really do a lot of this under your smart CRM, but if you want to come in and really look at, what hashtags are in here, maybe you want to clean them up or you want to add additional ones and you want to manage it under here, this is another layer where you can come in and do that. So from here, we are going to go into the search alerts. Now remember, and in our last class, we had, when we went through the Smart CRM, you actually have several ways that you can set up search alerts for your contacts. You can go under your Smart CRM, under the individual contact, and then over on the right, there is a section where you can add alerts. You can do 2 alerts under each individual contact. So there is also another layer, which is what we're going to show you under here, where you can also set up alerts. This is great, more so, let's say you're farming a neighborhood. And with that, you go into your smart CRM. Let's say you uploaded your contacts that are tied to that specific neighborhood. You went in and added the hashtag for that neighborhood. Then what you could do is come into here and create an alert that would automatically be triggered based on that hashtag. And I'll kind of walk you through that so you can see how that works. So with these search alerts, you actually can do up to 5 alerts per contact. Obviously, that can be quite a bit, so you just want to be a little bit more mindful of what you're applying, but you do have the capability to do 2 search alerts under each individual contact card, and then under here, you can also add additional ones. So after you've kind of managed your hashtags, let's say maybe again, as I showed you under the Smart CRM, we had created, a filter. I had my Windshire neighborhood and I had my contacts that were attached to that. If I wanted to add any additional contacts, I would want to go in my Smart CRM and add those contacts to that hashtag before I come in here to create the alert, because the hashtag is one of the main triggers to create these search alerts and send them out to your contacts. So what you'll do is you'll come in here and you'll do create alert. And I already have one, so I'm just going to pull that up. And again, any that you create in here, you can filter, you can also, take a look and view. You can edit these, but you can start fresh and you can create a new alert as well. So I am going to just go into one of mine to show you. So I'm going to click edit. So what happens here is, again, you would pull the hashtag in. So in this instant, I am creating this where I want it to go to the neighborhood that's tied to Windshire and my group that I had tied to that hashtag. So I had added Windshire. You can also keep in mind, add more than one hashtag under here. So if you have, maybe you have Boomtown leads and you did a farming and you also want to tie it to those components as well, you could come in and add whatever hashtags make sense. And then it would also apply to those contacts based on the hashtags that are added under here. Now, scope, a lot of times it's always going to default to you as the individual agent, but if you say have a team, you just want to pay attention to your scope and make sure you're in the right one, whether you want to be in your team scope. A lot of times that will be more so for the team lead that will see that, or if you want to be under you as the individual agent. And then for the search alert title, now this is just for your reference. So this is just for you to remember what this is. And then where it says email subject line and it says dynamic subject line versus custom subject line. So the difference between this is dynamic basically means every time this is sent out, it's going to highlight, a few of the top listings that are in here, and that's going to be tied to the subject. You can have that, which is good. Or if you want the custom subject line to be very specific and customized, you can also come in here and customize that. So what that means is it will always be the same based on what you put in this custom subject line. So really just up to you. A lot of times dynamic is good just because that's going to be reflecting the most recent and talk a little bit or highlight a little bit about the listings that are being sent to them at that time. And it does remind you right here, that little asterisk, exactly what these two mean as well. Now, in this one, I just made myself a note that I mapped out this neighborhood because I wanted to. You can also go in and add by neighborhood. So what I did is I went in and did a map of the area and I just drew it. You can also search by the area. So you can also pull in the neighborhood. It should populate it and you can select it. Now, granted, this is a little bit different. It's not pulling it directly, or I should say correctly, from Iris under here because I am doing it with the map feature. But if you go in, let me just show you another one so you can see what this looks like. You can go in and pull it by the neighborhood. So here I had the location that shows up because I didn't draw on the map and I typed in Windshire. And you just have to be careful. When it pulls up, it's supposed to be pulling from our MLS. Just make sure that when it says neighborhood and then it's showing the right neighborhood name that you want to pull. I had a couple, it was showing a couple options. Windshire Park is not the same as Windshire as a whole. So that's why I went in and mapped it out. So you just have to kind of take a look at it. You can also do it if you're just doing by city. So I may do Windsor, and then it will show city is another good area, or you could also do it by, say, high school or middle school. You would just select whichever one that makes sense. So from here, also, keywords, you can add keywords. I would just be careful. That is just very subjective, and sometimes it may pull correctly, it may not. So you might just have to play with that a little bit. And then options, you can also, if you want to select any of these options, again, it's kind of like tied to keywords too. But like, for instance, I put in here just listed. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to put just listed in here. You could just leave that blank, and then it will just pull in basically the active listings and send that out as well. So it just has a couple layers to that. Listing type, again, you just go through and fill out, the criteria that you want, how quickly, if you want it to do it ASAP or daily, just whatever frequency you want to send out. There is a way that you could copy other emails into here, but honestly, for this layer of it, I would actually just not use that. I would go in and just add every contact that you want to receive this alert by tying them to that hashtag. And again, just to reiterate, just make sure before you set this alert up, you go in, add the hashtag, apply it to your contacts, and then you come in and set up the alert. That is just, it's important for that order in order for these to go out and send the way you want. You can also do this little, turn this on if you want the open house alerts to go out as well, or you can just leave that off. And then you just hit update alert, and then that will send out based on the frequency that you have set up. And it doesn't hurt. I just submitted a support ticket because I had set up one of these alerts quite some time ago, and I went into the contact and just noticed that it actually hadn't been sending out. So they're going to take a look at it. Now, how you can do that is you go back into your contact card and you can pull up one of your contacts by just going into their card, and you should be able to see what is recently sent out under the activity section. So these were properties that were actually from the alerts that are also under here. So just kind of wanted to show you visually what that looks like. Okay, so next,
Tracy,
yeah,
sorry, it's Chrissy Barker. I had a quick question. How
yeah.
did you do that open house alert? That's so you can basically have someone on a search for a specific neighborhood and also check the open house.
Yeah, so that open house now under that alert would be based on what criteria you put in. So, whatever, like let's say it's the Windshire neighborhood, if
Yeah.
I turn that on and when that got sent out, it would let them know about the open houses that are within that neighborhood that I had put in the criteria.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so it is
Okay.
cool.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so the next part I want to show you is when you go under, it is market reports and valuation settings. So under here, this is a fairly new feature. And so I just kind of want to explain this a little bit because some agents, the object with this is to set and forget, which can be great. But if you have some things and systems already in place, you may or may not want this to automatically go for you. So just an example, recently I had an agent, we had uploaded her contacts with her spreadsheet into kvCORE, and she wanted to manually go in and set up her market report and the listing valuation reports under the contacts individually, which you can do that. And we had kind of showed you in our last training. Well, what's happening here is this is now default where these are turned on. So when they're turned on, the buttons are blue, and it'll also tell you when you change it if it's been successfully updated. But what happens with this is when these buttons are on, let's say whether I upload my contacts with a spreadsheet or I manually add a contact under here, if I had their address in their contact, if this is turned on, it will automatically start sending them a listing valuation report. So it's a estimated what's your home worth. That could be great if I want that, but if I don't, maybe I'm working with one of them and I'm already sending them something, I may want to make sure that I have this turned off before I upload my contacts, or right after I upload, I might want to come back in here and look at these settings and adjust what makes sense. The other part here is it says if there is no address, apply the following. So again, whether I am uploading my contact database or I am manually adding a contact in here, it is saying once a listing is viewed, use that area to set a market report. So that could be a couple different things. It could be that, let's say I added my contact in here, I went in and I maybe, or I should say they go on my website and they look at a listing. But on the contact side, under my Smart CRM, I hadn't set up a listing report or a market report yet, because that was one trigger. And then it says if the lead has no listing valuation or market report, but does have a search alert set up, it will then set up a market report for the area indicated by the search alert. Okay, I know that could be a little confusing, but what that means is if they have, let's say that they are looking up properties, but they don't have a search alert set up, but a market report is set up, and they have an area of interest that is set up based on that market report. It this button is turned If this button is turned on, it can then automatically set up a search alert based on the area. So let's say Windsor, because we sent them a market report for Windsor, and they start looking at properties and they click on it, now kvCORE is going to create a search alert based on what they started looking at for their criteria. I'm going to show you this a little bit because it can get really confusing fast. So just an example, I had a search alert that was set up, and I went and started looking at some properties. Well, one of the properties that I looked at was over $1 million. So what I did is I went under my contact card, I went under profile details, and you can see it saying, oh, this contact's home preferences is actually over $1 million. And the reason for that is because I clicked on that property when I got a search alert and it had a list of different properties. I went and clicked on the $1 million one. And because of that, it changed my criteria for the search. You can also come in here and edit this. So that can happen. A contact may be just looking at a over $1 million house, but maybe that's not actually their criteria. So sometimes you can keep an eye on that. You can tell, kvCORE, no, actually, this is what I need to go in and change the price to, 750,000 and to instead of over $1 million. Hit save, and then it will remember and reflect that. So just there are some layers to it, and it can be a little confusing how that works. But the goal behind all of this is what it's trying to do on your behalf is be smart based on how you send alerts out, what you have set up, how your contact engages, so what they click on, what they look at. kvCORE remembers that. And then from there, moving forward, it tries to be smart and send things based on the engagement that's going on. So that's the nice feature, but there also are ways that you can go in and also turn some of these off if maybe you don't want this to happen. So for instance, you could turn all of this off, then you could go into each individual contact and actually set this up the way you like. You also, under your smart CRM, under each individual contact, over under where it says more actions, you can also go in and turn off the behavioral, automation. But again, I would just be really careful with that, because the goal with this is kvCORE wants to try to do things for you. So you have to just kind of be a little bit mindful when you do turn things off, to know that some of those actions may not happen because of that. So sorry, hopefully that makes sense. Some of this can get a little confusing as you kind of get into it, but that is just some of the layers of that. I'm going to stop my share, and then Shannon can go in there and go over some of the other
All
pieces.
right, so I'm going to go over a few other things. There's just two things left that we want to cover. Again, in that all marketing section in kvCORE here, one of the things I'm going to cover here is this birthday and anniversary email. So again, this is another nice keep in touch kind of tool where an automatic email or text will go out to your contact or lead on their birthday or their home anniversary date. Now, in order for this to work at all, of course, you have to have a birth date or home anniversary date in the contacts record. So if I go to my contacts, I'm going to jump over there real quick to my fake contacts here. And if I click on one of those, over in the profile details, you'll see in the second column and in the last column there are fields for closed date, so when they closed on their home, and then there's a birthday over here on the right, in the right column. So a couple of notes on these. For the birth date, if you don't remember the exact year of that person's birthday, that's fine. You can just put whatever in there, but just make sure whatever year that you choose, it makes that person at least 18 years old, because the system won't send anything out to someone who's not 18 years of age. And on both of these options, you'll see that there's a toggle right below where you can select to do this for a contact individually. You can turn the birthday and anniversary emails on or off at the contact record. So one of the things that you could do in that all marketing section is turn this off for everybody, and then go back in and turn it on just for individual contacts if there's only, like maybe a few people that you actually want to activate this for. So you have to make sure that those dates are in the contact record before you even, before those will even go out. Another note on the home anniversary date, Tracy found that if you uploaded contacts using that bulk upload, that specific spreadsheet that kvCORE requires that you use to import your contacts, there is a field there for the home anniversary date, but it doesn't seem to import with the bulk upload. So even though you have those dates in there, you might find that when you bulk upload your contacts and leads, that home anniversary date didn't come through. So you might have to come back into your contacts and leads and manually add that date in there for each one. Okay, so I'm going to go back to all marketing here, back into the birthdays and anniversaries. You'll see this is kind of split into two sections here, birthdays on the left, anniversary of purchase on the right. Both of these sections operate pretty much the same way. The first you're going to see is which contacts do you want to have this on for. You can be selective as to, whether you want this on for active or new leads, or just your sphere or prospects, just your contacts. But you'll also find that this is on by default when you come in here, when you first come in here. So as soon as you start uploading or adding people to your smart CRM, this is going to be on by default. So one of the things you might want to do is maybe turn it off, when you're uploading your folks, And then once you get all your contacts and leads in place, and you get them all, you know, and the correct statuses and whatnot, and you have a chance to look at these birthday and email texts and email messages, then come back in, maybe turn it all on. But just a note, know that it's on by default when you first come in here. Okay, so you can be selective as to which contacts, which statuses you want to send these to. And down below, you'll see that there is an email and a text that goes out. Now, the system will default to text if the contact has a valid mobile phone number and they've opted in to receive text messages. If neither of those criteria are met, then the system will send the email. So it's an either or, it's not going to send them both. And you'll see here, you have the option to change these templates. But if I click on one of these, so here's the email template, you can kind of see what it looks like, but I can't edit this at all right here. And that's because at the top here, it's asking me, what template do you want to use? So you have the option to switch out the template, but the templates actually live in a different part of kvCORE. So I'm going to show you where that is. Over here in the marketing section, we're going to go over to smart campaigns. So now this birthday and anniversary email that goes out is in a different part than the smart campaigns because it's kind of not really a campaign, it's just a one-off email, right? But it does use a template. So in the My Campaigns area here, you're going to see all of the smart campaigns. kvCORE calls them smart campaigns because they contain more than just email letters. A lot of these campaigns contain text messages as well, or they might have reminders for you to call a person or some tasks or something. They contain more than just email letters. So that's why kvCORE calls them smart campaigns. And we're going to go through campaigns in much more detail in another class. But if I go over to this tab here for templates, if you think of templates this way, templates are all the individual pieces that go into a smart campaign. So any individual email letter or individual text message you'll find here in the templates. So you'll see in these templates, we have email, we have text messages, we have call reminders, we have tasks. There's all kinds of things in here, these different parts that go into those smart campaigns. So under email here, if I just do a search for birthday, I'm going to find all the birthday campaign letters within here. There are a bunch in here simply because I've made a bunch of copies over time. And you'll see there's some 4th of July ones in here because the subject line actually says happy birthday. So it's pulling those up too. But I can find that system default happy birthday email message in here. And it's this one. I can tell it's the default one because it doesn't have an edit button, right? The system default cannot be edited by anybody. But the only option here is to clone it. So if I hit clone, I'm going to be creating my own happy birthday email template that I can use then in my birthday emails. Now at the top here, this first thing you're going to see is that scope selector. Again, Tracy mentioned that earlier. Most likely, if you're an individual agent, you're just going to see your name in there the whole time. But if you are a team lead, you do have the option to create a template as the team lead. And you're creating a template for all of your team members. So team leads, you could come in here and create several birthday templates for your team members to choose from if you like. So that's what that scope is. Make sure you're on the right scope if you're a team lead as to where, who you're creating the template for. And then for the template name, it's just going to default to like a copy in parentheses here, but I want to change it to something different so that I know that this is my copy and I'll be able to find it later. And then you can see I have the option now to edit this. I can do whatever I want with it, change up the message, change up the image, and then just hit clone template at the bottom once you've made your changes. So now that template is made, I can go back into the all marketing section to the birthdays and anniversaries. And so in happy birthday email here, I want to change out that template. So if I just start typing in the name of that template, I'm going to find my new copy that I just made, and I can bring that one in here. Okay. And so this is my template copy. Once you get that in there, you'll see there's a few other options at the bottom here. You have the option to have this run right on the birth date or run before the date. So if I click that one, it's going to ask me how many days before do you want this to be sent out? And then there's another option to run after the date, which seems a little weird to me. I don't know why you'd want to send something out after somebody's birthday, unless your message says something like, sorry, I missed your birthday, but happy birthday. I don't know. But anyway, select one of those, and then you hit add template here to get your template in there. Same with the birthday text. You can change that template. You can see just what the default text says here. Again, you can find that template text message in the Smart Campaign templates, and you can create your own. You can clone the default one, create your own. You can change out the template here. All right, whatever you do in each of these sections here, make sure that you hit save at the bottom to save all of your changes. Okay, so that's the birthday and home anniversary emails. So in all marketing, there's one other thing that I wanted to cover in here, and this is the behavioral automation. Tracy pointed out that there is also a link here at the top to behavioral automation. Both that link and the tile down here go to the same place. But behavioral automation, it's that automatic communication that kvCORE sends out to a lead whenever that lead performs an action on your website. That's one of the powers of the kvCORE platform, is that it automatically sends out communications to leads to help engage with the leads, to help nurture them. And it does all of this on your behalf. So this is one of those things that, again, you might want to have it turned on. It is on by default, and you might want to leave it on. So when I come into the behavioral alerts, there's 3 different sections here. This first one is, again, whether or not you want to have it on for certain contact statuses within your contacts and leads. You can be selective as to which ones you want to have on. I think by default, these are the default ones: active lead, new lead, sphere, prospect. You might want to have it on for your clients, contacts, other folks, just so that, that communication is going out to all of them. I mean, because if any of them, whether they're an active lead or not, perform some sort of action on your website, that warrants a communication from the system to hopefully keep that conversation going with that person. Down below here, there are certain behaviors that if a lead performs, that communication will go out to the lead from kvCORE. But you as an agent can also opt to get a notification when that happens as well. So down here in behaviors, it lists some of the behaviors, that warrant a communication that goes out from kvCORE to the lead. But you can also toggle on whether or not you want to get notified when that happens as well. So again, I would suggest having all of these on, because this is good for you to know about when this happens as well. But if you find that you're getting a ton of notifications from kvCORE and you're just like, turn it off, this is where you come in and turn all of that off. But you'll see there are some behaviors listed here, like when a lead revisits a website after 14 days. So say they visit your website and then they come back 2 weeks later. The system says, oh, this person is interested in something, we should try to engage with them. Here's another one: the lead visits a site 5 times in the last week, or visits or views 5 properties in the last day, or 10 properties in the last week. So these are some of those actions that kvCORE sees warrants, communication the system is going to try to reach out to these people to try to keep the conversation going and find out what it is, that they're looking at, or, how we can help them. So in this section, you can also see the email and the text messages that are going out to the contacts or leads. And in this one, it's a little bit different. They don't necessarily use the templates. You can edit them right here. Again, the system is going to default to texting first if the lead has a valid mobile phone number and they're opted in to receive text messages. But if not, then it'll send the email. So in these, you can preview the email or text message that gets sent out, and you have the option to edit it right there. So you can use a template if you want to create a template and put it in here, but otherwise you can edit these right here and change them in here. Now in our outline, Tracy did add some suggestions on how you might want to edit these messages. I would go through these, take a look at them. Some of them don't quite make sense. Like for this one, it says, hey, I just left you a text message too, which isn't necessarily true, right? So you might want to take that part out of the message. So I would look at these and maybe edit them, put them in your own voice, and change them so that they make more sense to you. And then last but not least, this third section here, not only does the system send communications out to the contact or lead when they perform these actions, but the system will also take action if the contact and lead responds. So say that person responds to one of those automated emails or texts. What happens then? So this toggle is on. So it says when a new lead or prospect responds, move them to active. So basically, if it's a new lead that came in, they automatically get moved to active lead if they respond to one of those communications that go out from the system. Again, this is another thing that we think you probably should have on, just because when it does move somebody into a new status like that, that triggers other campaigns and other communications, and it helps, kind of move somebody through the steps and nurture that lead further. So again, it's probably something that you would want to have on.